to What's New in Blackboard since the last time we talked about Blackboard for March 2026. I have 4 things to discuss this month, and all of them are in Ultra courses. The first is a new way to generate knowledge checks in an Ultra document. Now you can use the power of the AI Design Assistant to create AI knowledge checks to go along with your documents. In the world of questions and question banks, the question title field has been relocated, so it's no longer as confusing when you're building questions inside the user interface. Also, with multiple choice questions, they've changed the limits on partial credit. This is a little confusing. We'll take a look at it when we get there. And finally, something that we've been waiting for quite a while, there is now the ability to set a second due date and a second participation requirement on discussion boards. This works very well with the way that a lot of discussion boards are used at Life University. Let's get started. Let's start with AI-generated knowledge checks. We've had the ability to put knowledge checks inside Ultra documents since we moved to Ultra. If you don't know what a knowledge check is, it is one ungraded anonymous question that goes into an Ultra document. Think of it as a pulse check for the class. Are most of the students getting the main point you're wanting them to get? But now, instead of creating your own question, you can let AI do it for you. To do that, we do it just like we're adding a knowledge check of our own. You would go to edit the content on a document and choose where you want the knowledge check to go. I want it to be at the bottom. Choose the knowledge check content block, and you can either enter your own question as before, or let Blackboard auto-generate a question for you. It's going to look at the content that's available in that document and come up with a question on it. It's actually going to come up with 4 for us. And you can look through them and choose which one you like, or choose not to select any of them at all. You can also choose specific course items you want it to look at, or put a description in to generate new questions. For now, I'm just going to choose this question and add it to my document. It appears down at the bottom where we chose for it to go, and just like everything in Ultra, don't forget to hit save before you're done. Let's take a look at that moved question title field in questions. Now this is the version of Blackboard that we had just prior to this, and if I go into this question and edit it, you see that the very first field there is the question title. And if you're moving fast and not paying attention, you might put your question here instead of in the question text, which is where it needs to be for students to see it. On the updated version of Blackboard, going into the same question to edit it, the question title field is no longer here. It is still attached to the question. If you use question titles, you can still access them. It's just now hidden under the question metadata tag. Now let's move on to the partial credit limitation change. And let's take a look at this multiple choice question. If you allow partial credit, before these percentages had to add up to 100. So you could choose 1 correct answer and 3 incorrect answers, or you could choose 2 correct answers that were worth 50% each. But you couldn't exceed 100% in all the answers. Sometimes there are multiple correct answers, or if you go back to the test after question analysis, you see that there are multiple answers that could be correct, and you want to give full credit to students who chose that alternate answer that could also be correct. You can now go ahead and make more than one answer worth 100%, or any number of answers worth any amount of percentage that you want. Just make sure that when you've finished making your changes, as always with Ultra, click Save. Last, let's look at that second due date for discussions. So I'm here looking at my discussion, and I want to change the due date settings to take advantage of this new feature. Well, first of all, I have my first due date, and let's give that a participation requirement. We can choose how many and whether it's a post, a reply, or a post or a reply for the first due date. A lot of our discussion boards at Life are post first, make 1 post by a due date. Now let's add a second due date. Now we can choose 2 replies, and let's make that just a few days later. So now they have to post by this due date, make 1 post, and that'll show up as needs grading. And then they have to make their 2 replies by this due date. And that also shows up in needs grading, as well as these dates showing up in students' calendars. Once again, as always with Ultra, click Save when you're done. That's all that I have for you this month. I just came back from the Blackboard Roadmap session where they showed off what they're working on that should come out in the next 6 months. There's a lot of really exciting stuff in there that we can really use. I can't wait to tell you about it once it hits our system. Have a great quarter.